Hello everyone, welcome to the Archipelago live stream. My name is Liam. I'm one of the developers here at Archipelago, where we create Lightroom presets and creative profiles for photographers. And today we're going to be taking a look at Archipelago Alethia. This is a brand new set coming very soon to archipelagopresets.com. I'm very excited for this stream. I can see there's quite a few people here in the chat already, all pumped up, ready to see Alethia. So I'm very excited to introduce this set to you today. This set's coming out very soon. And if you want to be the first to find out when this set is released, you need to be signed up to the Archipelago Presets newsletter. You can do so by heading to the link that's in the description of the video, or a link that's probably going to drop in the chat in just a moment as well. Make sure you're subscribed, because we'll be announcing the release of that set there first. But we're going to see that set in action today. I'll be showcasing everything it has to offer, giving you a really good walkthrough of the presets and answering any questions you might have got. That's going to give you a good idea of what these presets have to offer. But not only that, we'll be giving away pre-release copies to a few lucky people in the chat. So if you tune in live, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. That'll let you jump in the chat and interact as we go through the stream. We'll be choosing some people from that chat to win pre-release copies of Alethia. You're going to get your hands on that earlier than anyone else. You can start editing with it straight away. So definitely jump in the chat, say hello. I can see there's quite a few people on here tuning in from all over the world, which is very exciting. So Archipelago Alethia, like I said, it's coming out very soon to archipelagopresets.com. This is a set that I developed myself, and this was actually developed alongside this current month's Quest preset, which is Quest 27 Serenus, with the same foundational focus of having color accuracy at its core. So these presets focus on color accuracy, but they also deliver a really wide variety of dramatic tones and kind of stylistic looks that you can dial exactly how much you like. So you can go from color accurate through to stylistic, and you can do that really simply. I'll show that as we jump into the edits shortly. I can see there's some mention about Serenus in the chat there. Very exciting. So for those that don't know, Archipelago Quest is our preset subscription service. If you become a member of Quest, you get a new preset every single month that's free to download as we release it in that month to our members. You can join Quest at archipelagoquest.com. And like I said, there's a new set comes out every single month. You can download that set for free as part of your membership. And this month's set is the partner to the set I'll be showing you in a moment, which is Serenus, and that's Quest 27. It's been getting a lot of love over the last few days since it came out. And like I said, this was developed alongside that, and it's designed to work in partnership with that set. If you like, you can use both alongside each other. You can mix and match the presets, the creative profiles, and tools from both of those two sets together. So like I said, the same foundational core of that color accuracy and natural beauty in the tones of your images, but with the creative profiles that are offered in Alethia, you're going to have a really wide variety of different styles that you can kind of create and dial in. So I'll show you the images that we've got to edit today. You should be able to see my Lightroom screen there. We've got these 12 wonderful images. I've got 12, which is quite a lot to go through. So I'm going to try and get through these nice and quickly, but that's going to allow me to showcase all of the presets that are included in this set. It's quite a big set of presets, this one. It's a large collection. You're going to see that in a moment when I showcase the set to you. So let's just start by opening the first image. This one here by Claudia. Really gorgeous photo. And you can see I've got the set open on the left-hand side over here. And as you can see, it is quite an extensive set. Now, the setup of this one is a little bit different to our regular Archipelago presets. And that's because it has a color base and a black and white base, so 2 base presets. And then it has 12 creative profiles that you can apply over the top of the base to give you a stylistic look, and you can dial that in as much as you like. So you have the Alethia color base, and the idea behind that is it gives you that really color accurate base for your image in just one click. It's really nicely polished. It kind of lifts all the details, enhances the natural beauty in your image, and then from there you can go through each of the creative profiles and apply whichever color creative profile you like. And then we also have the same with the Alethia black and white base, which gives a really nice, crisp, clean black and white. There's no sort of color included in that whatsoever. It's monochromatic grayscale black and white, very clean and neutral. with a balanced amount of contrast. And then there are 2 black and white creative profiles to let you dial out in 2 different stylistic ways as well. You can also see alongside that there's a few tools. So we have the Illume tool, a matte tool, and a green/yellow decrease tool, and then a few grain options. Now, just to note, the grain is set to 0 as default with the base presets. So no grain applied as default, which I think will be the preference for a lot of people with this particular set, going for that very clean look. But from there, if you want to add grain, you've got 2 different grain options, grain plus and grain plus plus, and then the grain minus tool just lets you turn that back off if you want that clean look after applying grain. So if you love the grain, you can go ahead and apply that and dial in the amount that you like, but as default, no grain is applied with the presets. All right, let's go through the actual set then. I'll show all the options available on this photo, and then I'm going to go through the rest of those images and use the different creative profiles for each image and showcase the set as we go. Like I said, we are doing a giveaway in the chat, so if you are tuning in live, I can see there's lots of chat happening there. Do make sure you keep interacting as we go through the stream, and at the end of the stream, we'll announce some people to win pre-release copies of Archipelago Alethia before everyone else gets their hands on it. So keep chatting away. If you have questions, do ask those. I'll try and answer them as we go through the stream. There is a lot going on in there, so I might miss your question, but there are a couple of team members in the chat there as well. Lauren's in there, Richard's in there, so hopefully they'll pick up if I do miss a question, but I'll try and answer them as we go if we can. All right, so let's start by just setting the exposure and white balance of the image, and then I'll walk through all the presets in this one. So looking at this, the exposure is looking really, really nice. Gorgeous, gorgeous photo by Claudia here. Love this, this kind of setup in the field with these trees in the background. It's got a really nice softness to this image as well. So the exposure is looking good. The white balance, I think, could do with just bringing up a little bit more warmth, somewhere probably around about there. I think tint's looking good. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Alethia color base. Like I said, you apply the base preset first, and then from there, if you wish to apply a creative profile, you can go ahead and do that after. So always apply the base first, because that's going to give you a really nice starting point for your image. And if you're happy with the look of that, you can leave it there. But if you want to go ahead and dial things further, you can see how we do that with the creative profiles. All right, so Alethia color base, 1 click. There we go. So really, really gorgeous. It lifts the shadows up in a really nice way. It kind of keeps all the colors as they would be naturally, but just gives a nice polished, refined look to the image. You can see it's really nicely lifted in this case. Skin tones are very, very pleasing, very, very natural. And obviously you can see the greens and yellows and a little bit of blue in sort of the mountains in the distance there. All that stays true to what it would be in the unedited image. It's just given us a really nice base to start with. So if I go ahead and apply that, and you can see with the base preset, Alethia 1 creative profile is applied as default, and that's set to 0. So there's no creative profile affecting this image at all. It's set to 0, but from there you can go and dial that in. So let me walk through the creative profiles. Like I said, there are 12 in total. That's 10 color creative profiles and 2 black and white, which is so much in terms of options. It covers many, many different styles. Realistically, there should be something for everyone in this set, and because you can dial the intensity, it really does cover all bases. But it's a fantastic set for people that are doing things like wedding photography. It looks like that's what this is, where you want to keep, outfits looking very accurate in terms of colors. Portraits in general, just to get that really accurate rendition of skin tones, things like that. Product photography, food photography, anything where you need to keep the colors as they would naturally be, but have that really nice polished look and speed up your workflow, spend less time editing. So that's your base. Let's go ahead and take a look at each of the creative profiles. So as you can see, I've added the creative profiles as presets, so you can just hover over each of these and see how they affect the image. So this is color profile 1. As I hover over it, it's going to apply the profile at 100. So you can see the intensity of that. In this case, color profile 1 is actually very subtle. What it actually does is it just sort of renders the light a little bit differently. I'll show you more detail in a moment. Renders the light a little bit differently and kind of softens the image up, adds a little bit of like a diffusion, a little bit of a glow to the image. So if I apply that by clicking on the color profile 1 here, I can either then go across to the creative profile slider on the right, which is the usual workflow. But because this has been applied as a preset, really simply, you can just move up to the preset amount slider at the top there and just control it from there. And because it's only the actual profile, moving this around will only set the intensity of the profiles. It's a really easy workflow. Apply the base, apply the creative profile, and then use the preset amount slider at the top left here to set the intensity. So if I drag this back to 0, this is without creative profile 1. Drag it up to 200, and you can see this is it set all the way up at 200. So you've got lots of latitude to set this wherever you like. So you can see if I drag it up, it's a little bit peachier, a bit softer. It renders the light a little bit differently. You see it adds a little bit of contrast and blooms those highlights in a really soft and pleasing way. And it gives that nice light and airy look to your images. So that's your accurate look, and that's a little bit more of a dreamy look to your photo. So that's color profile 1. I'm going to set that back to 100 so we can look at the rest of the color profiles. So color profile 2, this has a nice warm toning to it. You can see it desaturates the little bit of blue that we've got coming through in some of the elements in the image there and makes it much, much warmer. So if I apply that, this is it at 0, this is it at 200. So you just get that nice dreaminess, that sort of honey overtone, really, really pretty, nice warmth running through. And like I said, desaturated blues, and the greens are a little bit desaturated there as well. All right, set that back to 100. Color profile 3, you can see this is at 0, this is at 200. This one has a really nice mossy green undertone to it, so you can see how it just adds a little bit of mossy green. It really heavily desaturates the yellows and the greens in the image as well, and also takes out some of the blue. So this is quite a moody look, whilst still sort of retaining that nice balance between the highlights and the shadows. So this is it at 0, this is it at 200. That's color profile 3. All right, color profile 4. This one is a little bit more cool tones. This is it at 0. This is it all the way up at 200. So you can see there's a little bit more blue running through the mid-tones, and in the highlights, a little bit crisper looking. Again, it has that nice softening aspect to the highlights in the image. You can also see, if you look at the greens in the top of the trees here, it goes from sort of the regular toned green through to being a little bit cooler toned. So a bit more of the blues coming through in the green toning and the yellow toning. So that's just a little bit of a cooler overall look. That's color profile 4. Color profile 5 is also another cool toned profile. You can see this one's a bit more desaturated. You can certainly see the yellows and the greens are very heavily desaturated. So it's a little bit moodier, and it just has that nice cool minty overtone to it there as well. Back to 100. Color profile 6, this one's one of my favorites. This one adds a nice punch of contrast. It's got really nice crisp, icy white highlights as well. And you can see how that also renders the yellows slightly differently, gives that nice blooming effect, but still retains the blues. You can see that coming through a little bit more here and in the suit there. This is it at 0, this is it all the way up at 200. And obviously, because you can set this wherever you like, you can just drag the creative profile up to the point where you want it, either have color accuracy or a little bit more of a stylistic look, or something much more dramatic up at 200. All right, so let's have a quick look at what people are saying. Good to know about both sliders just in the profile, since it is also a preset. Yep, definitely you can work whichever way you want. If you want to do it over here, you can do that, but you can see as I move this around, set it to 0, that's just moved the creative profile. And if I drag that up to 200, that's just moved it up to 200 there as well. So easy workflow, because you can apply it from here and then just move up to there rather than having to go across to the other side. What exactly is the difference between the preset and profile sliders? So the preset slider is going to adjust all aspects of any preset that's applied. So if you apply a preset and drag that amount slider on the left-hand side up here, that's going to change every single slider that preset had an effect on. So with a regular preset, that's going to be things like contrast and your tone curve and highlights, shadows, all those kinds of things. Whatever's been affected by the preset, increasing or decreasing that will move all of those sliders respectively. Whereas the creative profile slider is designed to only adjust the creative profile. So each creative profile has a different effect, and whatever effect that's applying, that goes over the top of the edits that the preset is applying. So all the sliders in the basic panel, the creative profile applies in addition to that, and that's just setting the amount of the creative profile. In this case, they kind of both do the same thing when we look at the color profiles, because I'm only applying the profile when I select one of these here. Therefore, this slider is only affecting that, whereas with a regular preset, it'll affect everything. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so let's take a look at the last few color profiles here. So color profile 7, this one's another favorite of mine. It has a nice warmth running through it. Again, a little bit of a push in the contrast. So you can see the blacks get a little bit deeper, the whites get pushed a little bit brighter, get that dreamy effect. And it has a really nice chartreuse sort of yellowy green overtone that comes in. It shifts the yellows and greens in the image as well, and just has that really nice warm blooming effect. Then we have color profile 8. This one has a nice magenta overtone, nice amount of warmth. Again, desaturates the image quite a bit. So it brings those yellows and greens down, brings the blue down, and just injects that nice magenta into the photos. This one looks really good for deserts, beaches, that kind of thing. Then we have color profile 9, which is a little bit moodier. So you can see this is at 0, this is at 200. It just has a little bit of the shadows getting crushed, the highlights getting kind of brought down there as well. So a little bit more of a vintagey type tone. And this one's on the cool side, so you get that blue coming through in the shadows, a little bit of cool overtone there as well, and slightly desaturated in the yellows and greens. And then the last color profile, which is profile 10, again, a bit more of a moody one. This one has, again, the shadows a little bit crushed, the highlights a little bit crushed while still being bloomed there as well. And this one has a nice green undertone to it with a little bit of a push in warmth. So a bit more nostalgic edit for that one there. So you can see there's a wide variety of different options throughout the color profiles. And then we move on to the black and white. So now I'm going to apply a black and white base. So this is the one-click edit with the black and white base. This is before, this is after. So one-click edit with black and white base gives you that lovely, clean black and white. Nice balanced amount of contrast, a good amount of detail in there, and obviously a very neutral grey scale to the image. So no colour injected into the black and white whatsoever. And then we have 2 black and white creative profiles. So the first one being black and white profile 1. This one adds a decent amount of contrast to the image. You can see how it just adds contrast in there, brings the blacks down, slightly amends the tone curve as well to give a little bit of a punchier look with a bit more clarity. So that's all up at 200. This is down at 0. So no color coming through at all. It is just a push in contrast, an introduction of more clarity into the image there. If I go in and zoom on the subject down here, this is at 0. This is up at 200. So it just renders the image really, really nicely if you want to add a little bit more of that punchy look and a bit more detail and definition into the textures in the image. Set that back to 100. And then black and white profile 2 has a nice nostalgic look. It brings some warmth in to the black and white. Again, adds a little bit of contrast and blooms those highlights. So again, this is at 0, this is at 200. You get that really nice, classic sort of nostalgic look with a slight sepia tone into the image there as well. So lovely, again, that you've got the option to just inject as much or as little as you like. You can go for something like that, where you got it set to 57, just a little bit of that warmth coming through, a little bit of the kind of contrast that it adds and the blooming, or you can go for something very, very stylized by going up to 200. All right, so I'm going to go back to Alethia color base. So that's the one click with the base, and I'm going to apply color profile 1, and I'm probably going to set that maybe about there. So about 150. So that's profile 1 with Alethia color base. There's before, there's after. No exposure adjustment, just a slight adjustment to the white balance, making it a little bit warmer. And I'll show you that as a side by side. If I go ahead and zoom in, you can see just how that's rendering the details and obviously the colors that are within the image there. Daniel says, this set makes me think of Lise Warren's photos. Yeah, team member Lise definitely has been enjoying this set. I've seen some of the edits that Lise has shared with us from the beta version of the set, and they are beautiful. I will always be a sucker for black and white. Stunning job, Liam. Thank you very much, Mary. Appreciate that. Alexandra, I'm curious if this set is close to the one I was looking for before in the Facebook group. Will be interesting to maybe ask for an edit in the group before I buy. Absolutely. So yeah, we do offer test edits in the group. So once this set launches, if you are still unsure about it, you can go ahead and ask for a test edit, and we'll obviously look to do that, or one of the members of the group will look to do that. But you never know, you could get your hands on it early. You might get it free for today as part of the live stream. So keep your fingers crossed. All right, let me show you the other tools then, and then we'll move on to the rest of the images in this. So like I said, it comes with a little handful of tools here as well. So the first one being Illume, and this one is designed to select the subjects within the image and render the light in the image to bring focus to the subjects of your photo. So this is Illume set at 0, and this is it set up at 200. So you can see how it just slightly darkens down the background, illuminates the subject, and it's just like shifting a light source across to your subject in real time as you are shooting. So you can just increase or decrease that to the point where you like, where it just draws the eye to the subjects in your photo and just illuminates them in a really pretty and flattering way. So I think for this, if I just add a little bit of it just to kind of darken the background down a touch and illuminate the subjects just a little bit more, there's before and after. That's with Illume, and that's using the AI functionality in Lightroom to select the subject, select the background, and apply a mask to each of those. So one click, it's going to do that, and then you can adjust the amount using the preset amount slider. We then have the matte. This is also going to use the mask functionality to apply a tone curve that mattes the image. So you can see how it lifts the shadows up. It kind of mattifies the highlights, so you can see how they just shift to being a little bit more matte, and you get that more sort of nostalgic edit. I think in this case, I quite like a little bit of that, so I'm just going to apply that at 70. And if I go into the mask panel here, you can see we've got the matte, and then we've got Illume subject and Illume background. And if I turn both of those off, you can see this is without the masks and that's with the masks. So it just illuminates the subjects, and then we've added the matte for a more matte finish. So that's really handy, because if you like the look of a matte finish where you get that kind of the crushed highlights, the lifted shadows, you can apply any of the color profiles that you like and then make it matte with just that one click of the matte, and then set the amount with the amount slider. So super, super simple. The idea is the workflow of this set is designed to be very, very quick and allow you to edit the image in the way that you like with very, very little effort. We then have the green yellow decrease, and this one just selects the yellows and greens and just allows you to very quickly decrease those. So if I bring that up, you can see how that's going to bring the yellow and green down, desaturate those for a little bit more of a moody look. It's really handy if you've got situations where the grass, let's say, or the foliage in the image is very, very fresh. It's springtime, it's sunny, and it's all kind of reflecting, and the greens are super vibrant. This will allow you to just kind of back that off. Or conversely, if you want to introduce more into the image, you can do so by bringing it to the left. So again, the default amount at 100 is the same as just using the color base. But then if you decrease it, it's going to add more yellow and green back into the image, and increase it, and it's going to reduce the amount of yellow and green in the image. So very, very simple way to do that. I know a lot of people want a tool to kind of be able to do this very, very easily. So with this, you can obviously just apply that, increase it, and then that's going to set the amount of green or yellow that's coming through in your photo. I can see a couple of people mentioning how much they're going to love the green yellow decrease. Yeah, it's nice. I think it does a really good job with the one click as well. When you apply that, it's just enough of a shift, just enough of a decrease in the yellows and greens that most of the time you can just simply apply it and you're good to go. It's going to give you that just a little bit of a drop in the yellows and greens, keep everything else as it should be, and that can give a more flattering result. But because you've got the amount slider, you can go ahead and dial that as you please. And then lastly, we've got the grain tools. So like I said, there's no grain on as default. So if I zoom in on the subjects here and go in nice and tight, you can see there's no grain on there, but if we apply grain plus, it's going to give us a nice subtle grain. This has got quite a small size to the grain and a subtle amount. If I'm zoomed out, you can probably not even see it at all in this, but it's a nice subtle amount of texture there. And again, with the amount slider, we can actually dial that up or down as we please. And then the second version, Grain++, has a larger size and is a little bit more rough. So it's a little bit more prominent looking with that kind of salt and pepper kind of style. And again, you can use the amount slider to increase or decrease that So if you prefer the sort of look of the rough grain that's larger in size, but you don't want it to be quite as intense, you can apply Grain++, and then just bring the amount down for a more subtle effect. And I think that looks really, really nice. So again, here's your before. Here's your after. Image number 1 by Claudia, and this one's edited with Alethia Color Base and Color Profile 1. Daniel says, those shades give off a dreamy vibe. Love that, thank you very much. The Swedish grass and birch trees are so neon green all June. That's from Alexandra. So yeah, this is definitely going to help you if you are shooting in those situations. It's definitely something we have to contend with as photographers. So that's really the idea behind this, is try and create the tools to speed up your workflow. And it certainly sounds like people are enjoying the idea of a green-yellow decrease. All right, so let's move on to the next image. I'll try and move through these a little bit quicker. Now that we've seen the set and seen it in action, I'm going to rattle through the next few images and show you how these work. So this image here by Shays, this is a gorgeous photo. I love this one. I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit here. I'm going to bring the white balance just down a little bit, slightly cooler, I think. Somewhere around about there looks good to me. Alethia Color Base. So again, you can see how that renders the image really, really nicely. This is before and this is after. Everything looks really natural, stays the color that it would actually be naturally in the scene, but just renders everything really nicely, pulls the details out, lifts the shadows, gives a nice amount of contrast, a nice amount of saturation. Skin tones stay looking really natural there as well. Then we can go ahead and apply Color Profile 2. So this is Color Profile 2. This is the warm toned profile. This is at 0. This is up at 200. And I'm going to set it probably at the default amount of 100. So there's before, there's after. That's with the Alethia base and Color Profile 2 at the default amount of 100. I can then go ahead and check out the Illume. Give that a second to figure out where the subject and the background is. So if I apply Illume and drag that from 0 through to 200, you can see how that affects the image. It just softens up some of the details in the background here, slightly reduces the saturation in the colors in the background, and also reduces the contrast level. So you get a little bit of a softness happening, a slight darkening to the background, and at the same time, it's also shaping the light on the subjects, just lifting up the shadows, adding a little bit more exposure on the subjects there. So nice way just to, again, draw the eye to your subjects. I'm going to add a little bit of that, about there, 68. Matte, this is how that would look. This is without, and this is with matte. Love the look of that, but I think the default looks really nice. I'm going to leave that as it is. I'm happy with the level of green in this image as well. So I think the only thing I'm going to do is apply grain and just back that off for a very, very subtle finish. There's before and there's after, and that's with Alethia Color Base and Creative Profile number 2. OMG, I really love the color base already. Thank you so much, really appreciate that. This is a masterpiece. I could not agree more. It's such a gorgeous photo. I love all of Shays' work, but yeah, this image is one of the ones that I always stop at when I'm kind of scrolling through all of the fantastic images that we get to use, all the raw files that we get access to. So big thank you to Shays for this image. Wonderful photo. Let me show you the side-by-side there, and I'll go ahead and zoom in on the subjects. Maybe not quite that much. Let's zoom out just a little bit. There we go. You can see the side-by-side. So you can see all these sort of colors here staying very natural, but we've just shifted across to that warmer look with Alethia Profile 2. You can see sort of the details. One thing I really like about the color base and also the black and white base is just the way that it kind of keeps the whites looking really, really crisp. One of the tools that I included in Quest 27 Serenus is called Crisp White. And that just, again, ensures that the blacks stay black, the whites stay white, so you get that really nice crisp look. That's actually kind of baked in as default with Alethia, so when you apply the color base, it actually gives you that rendition already, so you get that really nice crisp white, which is especially nice for, you know, wedding photography, things like that, where having white wedding dresses and white shirts and things like that looking very, very crisp and nice. So again, before and after, that's with Color Profile 2. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one here by David Griso. This is a gorgeous photo. A bit more of an autumnal vibe, certainly a little early in the year for this, but I thought it was a beautiful photo, and it's a great way to show you how it renders different colors in the scene. So we've got some blues here, some greens in the leaves in the shirt. We've got the red, obviously, of the vehicle, some oranges running through. So I'm just going to set the exposure and white balance. I'm going to bring the white balance up a little bit, bring the exposure down a touch. Just looking at skin tones, we've got a little bit of overexposure there, so I'm just going to bring that down. And let's take a look at the Alethia color base. So I'm just going to apply that, and actually I can afford to bring this up a tiny touch. There we go. So this is before and after. That's with Alethia color base. And then I'm going to apply color profile 3 to this one. So color profile 3, this is it at 0, this is up at 200. So this one is a bit more of a moody look. It really desaturates the greens and yellows, brings down the exposure of those colors in the image as well. So you can get a much, much moodier look. I'm going to leave that at the default amount of 100. I'm just going to bring the exposure up a tiny touch more. So you can see with this one, it's actually shifting some of those colors. So if you look at the blues in the denim here, the red in the truck, as I bring this up, it's just going to shift those colors. So again, nice. You've got the option to have that more stylistic look that you would get with a lot of our presets, but you can dial it exactly where you like between that color accuracy all the way up to that more stylistic look. And this one, I really, really love the mood. I find this is one that I'm always a little bit surprised by when I kind of scroll through the color profiles. It's got a really distinct look to it with those desaturated and dark greens and yellows. So again, this is before, this is after. That's with color profile 3. I think for this, I would probably use the matte tool just to give us that little bit more of a nostalgic look. It lifts those shadows up, just kind of mutes the highlights down a little bit. This is at 0, this is at 200. I'm going to leave it cranked at 200 because that looks really nice to me. Again, before, after, and there is your side by side. So really the idea was to bridge the gap between color accuracy, which is very important in certain types of photography that we do, in certain situations that we find ourselves shooting in, and then stylistic, which is often something that is very exciting to edit as a photographer, but we sometimes need something to be able to bridge the gap between the two. And the idea with this set was to create that bridge, to have the options of color accuracy, the options of stylistic tonality, and you can dial it exactly as you like. Love that red color punch and warm tones. That's from Corey. Thank you so much. This is perfect edit for that shot. Thank you very much. Yeah, so that's someone saying excited for fall. Yeah, a little early for that right now. We've got to enjoy summer first. But no, I just thought I'd show you across sort of a bit of a diverse range of images, because really this set is kind of foundational. I think the idea here was to create something that probably every photographer would benefit from. So this is definitely a tool set that I think a lot of people will keep going back to and will suit images that you shoot throughout the whole year and just give you that kind of versatility. So yeah, there we go. Wonderful image by David. All right, next image here, this one by Vivid Symphony. Really nice photo. I love the styling of this one. I'm going to bring the exposure up a little bit here. And I'm just going to do a little bit of straightening. I'm not going to go, let's have a look, maybe about there. Just a bit of it. Oh, no, that's wonky. Let's go there. There we go. That's looking better. Exposure's looking good now that I've increased it a little bit. White balance, I think it could do with just a little bit more warmth, but not too much. I think about there. Let's take a look at the color base. So Alethia color base. Again, this is before and after. Lovely rendition of the colors that are there already in the image. I'm just going to bring the exposure up a little bit more. If I zoom in, you can see the blues there. This is before and after. See how they stain really natural. You can also see some of the kind of warmer tones in the skin here and in the colors of the table. Super nice. And now we're going to go ahead and take a look at color profile 4. So this one, if you remember, is a little bit more cool toned. So if I go from 0 through to 200, you can see how that just cools off the warmer tones in the image. You can see how the skin tones lift up, they shift to being a little bit cooler while still being very natural looking. You can see how the highlights bloom a little bit, get a little bit of teal showing through in those highlights and some blues coming in the shadows there. And I actually think this cranked up to 200 looks really, really nice in this image. There's your before and there's your after. A loom tool, I don't think it needs it on this photo, but let's take a look. Actually, that could be quite nice. So This is it down at 0. This is it up at 200. You can see how it just balances out the light in the image. I'm going to use a little bit of that, set it to 43. There's no greens or yellows, so I'm not going to use that in that. Oh, sorry, that was matte that I was just using. Let me just turn that back off. Let's go for Illume first. There you go, that's 0, that's up at 200. There you go, you can see how the light is just shifting. It's almost as if you bring in an artificial light in and just illuminating the subject in the scene. And actually for this, I quite like a good amount. So I'm going to set that to 134, and then let's apply matte again, because that was looking really nice, where it just lifts those shadows and softens down the highlights. I'm going to set that to about 45. And I definitely want some grain on this. I'm going to use grain plus plus, which is going to give us that nice amount of roughness. I'm going to bring the amount down just a bit. I brought it down to 76. And there's before, and there's after on the close-up. I'll show you the side by side there as well. Lenka says, I lean into a documentary feel, so this is perfect for polished color imagery without changing colors too far. Absolutely. If you're doing anything sort of documentary, journalistic, you want it to look very much like the reality of the scene, the color base is going to give you that really accurate representation. But again, nice to have the flexibility to be able to add a creative profile and just increase the amount to a point that you like. Dreamy colors, love that they are also natural. Thank you so much. Illume is such a useful tool. That's from Mia, thank you so much. Wow, this is beautiful. Lots of positivity. Gorgeous image by Vivid Symphony. You can see the Instagram handle there alongside their name. That's the same for all the images that you see throughout this stream. So if you do want to follow their work, see more of their photos, you can do that by following the Instagram handle there. For anyone that's joined late, this is a live stream to showcase the upcoming Archipelago Alethia preset collection. This set is coming out on Archipelago presets very, very soon. You need to be signed up to our newsletter to find out when this set comes out. So make sure you follow the link that's in the description of the video to sign up to the newsletter, and we'll be announcing the release of this very soon. It's also worth noting that if you are a Quest member, if you're a current Quest member, you'll be getting an exclusive launch discount on this set when it comes out. So if you are a member, keep an eye out for the launch of this set, because you'll get an exclusive discount as a Quest member off this set when it does launch. So definitely make sure, if you're interested in Quest and you're not yet subscribed, do that now. Get subscribed. You can download Quest 27 Serenus, which was actually developed as a partner set alongside this one. You can download that immediately. And then when Alethia is released on archipelagopresets.com, you will get an exclusive launch discount as a Quest member. All right, so let's move on. This one here by Denise. This is a gorgeous photo. I'm going to go ahead and straighten this up just a tiny touch. I'm not going to go perfectly straight because I actually quite like a little bit of an angle to it. I'm going to bring the exposure up a touch here as well, and I think it could do with just a tiny little bit more warmth. I think somewhere around there. Alethia color base, there we go. That's one click with Alethia color base, looking super, super nice. Again, just take note of the blues and the greens in the image. That's the unedited, that's the edit. All very, very natural. Stay true to the colors, but just lifted up, looked very polished, very refined with that one click. And then from there, we can go ahead and select our creative profile. So in this case, we're going to go for color profile 5. This is it at 0. This is it up at 200. This is one of those cool tone ones. It desaturates the colors in the image, shifts across to a bit of a cooler look. Looks very, very nice. I think for this, I'm going to set the amount to 100, the default amount. Let's check out Illume. Again, this is going to shift the light in the photo in a really nice and subtle, but very realistic looking way. This is it at 0, this is it at 200. So you can see it's not super drastic, but it just gives a little bit more emphasis to those subjects and just darkens down the background, subdues it a little bit. I'm going to set that quite high, about 151. I'm not going to go for matte on this, I don't think. I quite like the punchiness and the contrast of this edit. Yellow decrease. Now, actually, for this photo, I'm going to do the opposite because I really like the green in the interior of this car. So I'm going to apply green-yellow decrease. But what I'm actually going to do is back that off. So I'm going to bring that to the left, which is actually going to add more of the yellows and greens. So it's just going to be a little bit punchier. Just bring a little bit of the green back into the seat here. and just kind of push that a little bit further. And that looks super nice contrasted against the blue of the suit. I'm not going to do any grain. I'm going to leave it as it is without grain. I'm going to bring the overall exposure up a tiny touch, and that for me looks absolutely wonderful. There's before, there's after. That's Alethia color base with color profile 5. We've used the Illume tool just to draw attention to the subjects, and we've used the green yellow decrease, but we've used it the opposite way. We've actually added more of the green into the image just to kind of pull out the color in the interior of this wonderful looking car. There is your side-by-side comparison. Courtney says, wow, this is so gorgeous. Yep, I agree. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous photo. That blue, love the green and blue. Yep. I struggle when presets feel too punchy and aren't really true to life. So this set is just what I need. Thank you so much, Kelly. Definitely grabbing this set to pair with Serenus. Yeah, you're going to love it with Serenus. Like I said, Serenus is the Quest set that was released this month. It was developed by me alongside this set, and that features some tools such as the tilt shift tools. They blur the top and bottom of your image and replicate the look of using a tilt shift lens, as well as 2 different creative profiles, a black and white one and a color one. And those can be used in conjunction with all of the tools and presets that are included with this set. Like I said, they're developed alongside each other with that same foundation of being true to color, and you can mix and match those tools. So if you're enjoying Serenus, you're going to absolutely love Alethia and everything it has to offer. All right, let's keep going. What time are we on? All right, cool. Let's see, where are we up to here? So image number 6, we're halfway through. I'm going to start to ramp up the speed of this just so that we're not sticking around too long, but you get to see all of the edits. So I'm going to bring the exposure up just a tiny touch on this gorgeous photo here by Corey. I think Corey's here in the chat. Absolutely adore Corey's work. Super, super nice. It's always so nice to edit the raw files that we have from Corey, and I would definitely recommend going and following them on Instagram. So I'm going to bring the temperature up just a little bit, set the exposure just a tiny little bit higher, and for this I'm going to go ahead and apply Alethia color base. Again, there's your before and after just with the base, keeps all the colors as they naturally would be, but just lifts everything up and renders it really nicely. But for this we're going to use color profile 6. This is it at 0, this is it all the way up at 200. Very, very punchy look to this one. It really kind of lifts up the whites in the image, has that nice cool toning, adds a lot of contrast to the photo as well. And actually for this, I like it quite high. It does add a bit of blooming. You can see the highlights that are wrapping around the edge of the car there, and obviously the whites in the outfit do start to bloom. It gives you that nice diffusion look to the photo. I'm gonna go quite high actually on this. I think I'm gonna go about 160. That's looking super good. This is before, this is after. I love the way it's rendering the color of the vehicle there. Skin tone's looking really, really nice. For this, I'm going to go ahead and check out Illume. Give that a second to render. This is it at 0. This is it up at 200. Doesn't need much of that actually. I think the exposure is almost exactly how I would want it. I'm just going to bring a little bit of it in just to darken down the exterior of the truck and just illuminate the subject a tiny bit. Matte will work really nicely here. You can see how that just adds that nice matte effect to the image if you prefer that softer look to your photos. Again, that works with every single profile and preset in this set. You can also use it with any other preset as well. So you can go ahead and apply a preset and then use the matte tool. So if you've got a preset you really like, but you prefer it to be matte, rather than having to go into the tone curve and adjust that, you can just apply this over the top. It adds it as a mask layer and you can set the amount. So that's a nice top tip for you there. I'm going to leave that actually at the default amount of 100, so I've got a little bit of matte on there as well. I'm not going to decrease the yellows or greens because I really like the natural look, but I'm going to add a little bit of grain there with Grain Plus. There's before and there is after. Obviously, I've just added a bit of warmth in the white balance. If I go ahead and put that back to the default, this is a more accurate representation of the natural colors and how they stay natural. You can see like the color of the vehicle and the color in the nails there, the blues, and obviously the ribbon down here. But I think just a little bit of warmth because we have that backlight, looks super nice. I think about there, looks lovely. It just renders the skin tones nicely and just adds a little bit of warmth to the sun that's coming in from behind. There is your side-by-side. Heather says, I really love the way it handles blues. Yeah, that was definitely an important part of developing this set. You know, stylistically, Blue can look really nice when it's desaturated and shifted in tonality, especially if you have a bit of a warmer edit. But actually with this set, because I was focusing on color accuracy, it was all about maintaining the blues, keeping that nice and crisp. Obviously, like I said, different creative profiles are going to render that slightly differently, but certainly with the base, it handles them incredibly well. So dreamy / creamy, that's from Kimber, thank you so much. Yeah, love that. Thank you for keeping her skin tone true to color. That's from Corey, whose image this is. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Corey. All right, let's top up the water. Stay hydrated. Vernon says, it's the burst of life this pack gives this image. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on to this image here. This one by Valeria. I'm going to go ahead and bring the exposure up just a tiny touch. Love this photo, really nice styling. I love all the details of the kind of dried flowers and the bread down here. Really, really cool setup and styling of this image. I think the exposure and white balance, I've just increased the exposure a tiny bit. I think the white balance is looking good. I'm going to go ahead and apply the color base. So again, before and after. This is a nice example because you have some greens. We've got some sort of more magenta colors in there, some oranges. So you can see there's before and after. Renders really beautifully. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a tiny touch more because I like to have that nice lifted look. And for this, we're going to be using color profile 7. If you remember, this is one of the warm toned profiles. This one has that nice chartreuse overtone with the yellowy greens coming through. So this is at 0. This is it all the way up at 200. And it has a little bit more of like an editorial feel to this one. You can see how the skin tones shift across to be more yellowy green, and you can see how it just blooms the highlights, adds that contrast in, and it's really, really beautiful for editorial style portraiture, things like that. So for this, I'm gonna probably leave it at the default amount again, 100. I think that's rendering really beautifully. So you can see how it shifts the skin tones, but in the kind of setting of the rest of this image with the color tone on here, it looks really, really pretty, but you can see how it shifted across more towards the other side. So this is before and this is after. Love the way it renders the highlights in this dress here as well. Nice, soft blooming to the photo. Again, I don't think we need to use a loom on this because we actually have a lot of exposure on the subject and the background is relatively dark, but you can see how that would work. This is it at 0, 200. You can see again just how it's sort of shifting the light in the image. Maybe we could get away with just a little bit of it, just, yeah, about there, 34. So just a small amount just to kind of bring the focus to the subject. Matte tool, if you wanted that matte look to it, there you go, that's one click with matte. Actually looks really nice on this, so I might apply a little bit of that, maybe set that about 140, a decent amount of that, just to kind of give us that nice matte finish to the image. Yellow green decrease, I'm not going to bother with that because I like the yellows and greens that are in this one, keep them as they are, but I am going to add Grain++ for a bit of extra texture and just back that off a tiny bit. There's before and there's after. That's with Alethia Color Base Color Profile 7, one of my favorites in the set. These images make me want to run around in a field and live my best vintage farm life. They're all beautiful and the presets really bring that to life. That's amazing, Kelly. Love that. And another Kelly is also saying, do you need company? They want to join you. That's awesome. In love with the creaminess, and I can see this pack changing our lives. Thank you so much. It's a great review. Really appreciate that. Traditional, gorgeous photo. That's from Manu. Thank you so much. I need these presets in my life. That's from Lorna. Love it. Love all the positivity. All right, next image. This one by Megan. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit here, and it needs a decent amount of temperature add in the white balance, just to make sure that everything's rendering the way I imagine it looked when it was shot. So that's looking good to me. All right, Alethia Color Base, looking super nice. It really nicely lifts up the image there. I'm just going to back the temperature off just a tiny touch. Yep, about there. So again, before and after, you can see the blue in the braids here just stays nice and vibrant as it is in the unedited image. Skin tones again rendered really nicely. The greens in the background, the leaves there, and kind of some lens flare that you can see there. All of that's rendered really beautifully. And of course, the color in the dress and the sort of terracotta color in the tiles on the floor. So for this one, we've got color profile 8. So this one, again, is a little bit warmer. This one has more magenta running through it. So you can see this is at 0, this is it up at 200. It desaturates the greens, shifts them towards the warmer side, adds that really nice warm overtone and pushes the reds to be a little bit more orange and a little bit more saturated. So I think for this, we could go quite high. I'm going to set that to about 163. This is before and this is after. Illume, I think, will work really well on this because we've got a sort of backlit looking or side lit looking image. This is it at 0. This is it up at 200. So it makes a really big difference in this image, how it just kind of shifts the light to the subjects, just kind of shapes the image a little bit more. Really, really nicely defined. I'm going to set that probably at 100, I think. That's just really shaping the light in the photo in a nice flattering way. I'm not going to use matte, I don't think, on this because I quite like the little bit of a punchier edit that we're getting. And I'm not going to use green yellow decrease because this profile's already decreased that a little bit. I like the rendition of the greens there. So I'm really happy with this. This is your before and this one's after. And there again is your side by side. Look at the skin tones. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. The blue is outrageous. Heart eyes. Love that. Just when I thought I was done buying new sets, you pull me back in. Hey, Todd, I don't think you're going to regret getting this set at all. I think it's really going to become one of those foundational sets that really everyone needs and will use just because of the way that it kind of is designed and the way that you use the different bases and creative profiles. I honestly think this is going to become a set that a lot of people kind of reach for a lot of the time. So certainly set some money aside for this when it comes out. It's going to be out very, very soon. Lenka's jumping on saying, same Todd, I was just thinking 2 sets and 20 quests. Yeah, tell you, honestly. We've got to stop, haven't we? We've got to. No, never. We're never going to stop. All right, here's your before and after. I'm going to show you the close-up here. So you can see those lovely blues coming through in the braids, just the way it's added that nice magenta tone in throughout. Rendered the skin tones really nicely there as well. And you can see those greens, just how they're shifted across to be a little bit warmer and a bit more desaturated. And of course, with the Illume tool, if I jump in here, if I turn that layer off, this is without Illume and this is with just a nice amount of shape added back into the image. Works really, really well for images like this where you have a little bit of back or side lighting. All right, next up, this one here from Sarah. This is a gorgeous woodland shot, nice moody image. I'm going to bring the exposure up a decent amount on this one. I'm just going to straighten up a tiny touch as well. I think somewhere around there looks good to me. Temperature's looking good though. I quite like how it's rendering naturally. So let's take a look at the color base. All right, so there we go. This is before and after. Obviously a decent amount of lift in the exposure, but you can see how it's rendering the greens. There's a little bit of a subtle bluish hue in the shirt. That stays nice and natural. Obviously the sort of brown beigey color here in the trousers, in the hat, all of that's rendering really, really nicely with the color base. Then we're going to go ahead and use color profile. Which one are we on actually? Let's just double check. We're on profile 9. So color profile 9, this is the second to last color profile in the set. This is it at 0, this is it up at 200. So you can see this is definitely one of the more moodier looks. It has that sort of similar kind of crushed highlight and shadow tonality that you get with something like X-Film. And you can see how it just desaturates the yellows and greens and adds that nice cool overtone and a little bit of blooming there for a more nostalgic edit. I'm probably going to leave it at the default amount of 100. That's looking really nice and natural on this image. Going to go ahead and use the tools. So let's have a look at Illume. This is at 0, this is at 200. Don't need to use much because actually the way that it's lit with the kind of dark shadows in the trees here, and obviously it looks like they're in a little bit of a clearing, we don't really need to add this. I'm going to leave that at 0 actually. It looks really nice as it is. Matte, we could add that. Now obviously there is some matte happening in the creative profile already, but you can go ahead and apply matte on top and you can see how it just brings the highlights down a little bit and lifts the shadows a little bit more as well. I'm going to add that, leave that at 100. Not going to use green yellow decrease because again I like the way that it's rendering the greens here. They're sort of desaturated just enough to be really, really flattering in this image. So there's before, there's after, and there is your side by side. Creamy, dreamy, again, I love that. Creamy and dreamy is coming up quite a lot in the chat. I was really hoping for a set that kept the blue true to life. I'm stuck in blue groom costumes time. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, speaking of that, I'm going to mention something at the end of the stream that's also going to help you out, something that's coming very, very soon to Quest as well. But yeah, certainly with this set, that was definitely a big focus. If you have weddings where the groom or the groomsmen are wearing blue, you obviously want to try and retain that for their images so it's natural to the day and what they remember wearing. So that, yeah, you're going to find this set really useful for that. When I entered this group, I thought that I only entered for a preset, but what can I tell you? This is addictive. Hey, Daniel, there's nothing wrong with that. These are all tools for your business to help you to do the things that you love and create amazing work, because your work is fantastic, Daniel. So just think of it that way. You know, they're an investment, all right? It's not an addiction. It's okay. Elizabeth says, I'm a fan of that vintagey toning. And Kimber says, I'm a fan of the matte. Thank you so much. All right, so we're on to the last color profile here. This is color profile 10 that I'm going to use on this gorgeous photo here by Heather. Really, really nice setup. Again, we've got a bit of a woodland scene here with the light popping through the trees at the top. Really nice, gorgeous, warm glow. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. I'm going to add a tiny touch more warmth just to really emphasize that sunlight. And then let's go ahead and apply the color base. There we go, it's looking good to me. So this is before and after. Again, very, very natural. I've added a little bit of kind of an increase in the temperature so you can see the shift in warmth there, but also the kind of rendition of the rest of the image with Alethia color base. And then let's apply color profile 10. So again, this is one of the more moody ones, and this one has that really nice mossy undertone. So you can see it adds that really nice kind of crushed shadow look, that nice matte effect that you get there. Brings the saturation down in a lot of the colors in the image, but you can certainly see how it just injects a little bit of that mossy green into the shadows of the image. And actually, I like this cranked all the way up at 200. There's before and there's after. Let's check out the tools. Again, Illume, doing a fantastic job there of just drawing the eye to the subjects. It doesn't need it on this at all, I think. I'm going to leave that off because the rendition as it was captured is looking lovely. Again, matte, if you want to push that even further, you can use the matte tool, but I like it as it is. Green yellow decrease, don't need to use that. I'm really happy with the amount of green that we see here, but if I went ahead and apply that, you can see we can really desaturate that if you want to go for that very, very moody, desaturated look. So we could maybe go for that. Let's go for about 135. So it really brings the greens down. It lets the mossy color come through of the creative profile, but just kind of backs off the amount of saturation in the foliage here. So this is before and after, and that's with color profile 10. There's your side by side. I love everything about this image. Thank you so much. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous photo. Again, this one by Heather. You can see Heather's Instagram handle up at the top there as well. The matte is gorgeous in this. That's from Lorna. Thank you very much. And let me go ahead and zoom in on the subjects here. This is before and after. Love the way it's rendering the greens. And I also love the way it's kind of bringing that little bit of greenish hue into the shadows. Again, a little bit more reminiscent of something like X-Film, where you have that kind of vintage, slightly filmic look to the image. All right, wonderful. So there we go. That's the color profiles done. All 10 color profiles applied from image 1 through to 10. So that means we're on to black and white now. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first black and white image. This one here by Foggy Stories. Lovely, lovely photo. I love the mood in this. It's got a nice softness to the image. I'm going to bring the exposure up just a little bit. Don't need to worry too much about the white balance because it's going to be a black and white edit, but the white balance is looking good anyway. While we're here, let me show you the Alethia color base one click, because I think that looks really pretty anyway. So you can see how that would render a color edit of this image, but let's go ahead and look at black and white. So Alethia black and white base, really, really nice rendition. Again, the one click is very clean. It has that nice grayscale look to it, kind of a very balanced contrast level. Super nice. There's before and after. And let's go ahead and apply black and white profile 1. So this is the one that has that extra bit of punch in the contrast, adds a little bit more definition and texture into the image as well. If I go ahead and zoom in on the subject here, This is at 0, and this is the profile up at 200. Really, really nicely renders the, excuse me, renders the contrast in the photo. So it just brings a little bit of shape in, adds some definition to the detail areas of the image there as well. I like this up at 150. This is before and after, and that's with Alethia black and white base with black and white profile 1 at 150. Don't need to use a loom because we have quite a dark background on this already. But again, if you want to use matte, you can do so. Just apply the matte overlay, and this will allow you to add that matte finish to it. I'm going to add a little bit of that, maybe about 60. And obviously we don't need to worry about anything like green yellow decrease because it's black and white image. So for this, the last thing I'm going to do is apply grain plus plus to give us that nice grain texture on the image. So there's before, there's after. That's your close up. I'll show you the side by side there as well. I knew it was from Foggy before you mentioned it. Yeah, Foggy Stories images have got a very, very kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Memorable stylistic look to all of Foggy Stories' work. You should definitely check out their Instagram. Really, really pretty. Love this. Going to have to re-edit a lot of my older photos. That's from Mark. Thank you. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy it, let me tell you. Lenk says, I've been searching for a black and white like this. Well, there you go. Your search is over, or at least it will be very, very soon. So there you go. That's your before and after with the first black and white profile in this set. And that brings us to the last image. This is another one here from Vivid Symphony. Really, really pretty photo. And this one I'm also going to edit in black and white. Exposure's looking good. I don't think I'm going to change that at all. I think white balance is looking good as well. Let me just quickly show you the color base if we were to go ahead and do a color edit on this. That's one click with Alethia color base. Really, really nice rendition of what is naturally there in the photo. But for this, let's go ahead and do Alethia black and white base. That's again your one click. Super clean, super natural looking, very, very classic. And then we've got black and white profile 2. And this one adds that nice warm tone into the image. It's kind of coppery toned, adds a good amount of contrast there as well. Gives that really nice kind of vintage look to your photos. So this is all the way up at 200 and this is back down at 0. And obviously you can set it exactly where you like. I'm going to go for the default amount of, no, I'm not. I'm going to go a bit higher actually, because I want a bit more of the warmth to come through. So yeah, let's go 150 again. This is before, this is after, and that's with Alethia black and white base and color, black and white profile 2 set to 150. Illume, let's have a quick look. I don't know, yeah, let's actually use that on this. Again, Illume at 0, Illume at 200, really transforms this photo, does a really good job of just kind of rendering the light on the subject, darkening down the background. I'm going to add 140, set that to 140. And again, matte, if you want to add that matte look to your image, that can look really pretty. I'm going to go for a little bit of matte on this, set that to 35, and let's go ahead and do grain plus plus. I'm going to increase it a bit just for a little bit more grittiness to this, really lean into that nostalgic look. There's before and there's after. That's black and white profile 2 set to 150, Illume tool applied and a little bit of matte and then some grain. Cranberry Spirit says, I can't get over that color-based preset. Yeah, it's lovely. It's so nice actually seeing your images rendered in that natural form, but in a really, really nice way. It just makes them pop, makes them look really refined, makes them look really polished, but still very, very natural to the unedited photo. Timeless, it's definitely the right word. Love that. Thank you, Kelly. That soft copper toning is divine. That's from Heather. Thank you so much. Such a classic photo, will definitely stand the test of time. Love that. Incredible. All right, so there you go. That's your before and after. I'm going to go back to this view here. And if I select all of these and press the N key, we can see all of the edits rendered there. That's the 10 color profiles included in Archipelago Alethia and the 2 black and white profiles. You're going to absolutely love this set, I'm sure. Like I said, this set is coming out very, very soon, not long at all. You're going to want to sign up to the newsletter, and I can see Lauren's just thrown that in the chat there again. It's also in the description of the video if you're watching this back. Make sure you subscribe to the newsletter because that's when we're going to announce the release of this set. So yeah, subscribe. As soon as we're going to release this, we'll let you know through the newsletter. And just as a reminder, Quest subscribers, you're going to get an exclusive launch discount for this set. So if you subscribe to Quest, keep an eye out for that. You're going to get an exclusive discount when this set is released. So that brings us towards the end of the stream, which means in a moment we're going to be announcing some winners of pre-release copies of Alethia, which is very, very exciting. Actually, I'm going to go back into the first image here. I'm just going to talk very, very quickly about something else that's exciting that's coming later this month. So as part of Quest, very often we also release bonus content along the way, just as a special little extra to say thank you for our members for being part of Quest. And this month, we're actually going to be doing that with what we call the Archipelago AI Wedding Toolset. It was mentioned earlier about things like blue suits, staying blue, things like that. That's what this set is all about. This is going to be coming out to our Quest members as a free bonus set later this month. And this features a huge array of tools. You can see that they're grouped based on dynamics, scene, subject, skin tone, and clothing. And they just adjust different parts of your images with a focus on wedding photography to help you to fix things that we often come across as photographers. So things like, you can see here, you've got like candle lit, that's one that adjusts the scene when you're shooting candlelit dinners, things like that to give a really nice rendition. We have flash enhance, tungsten light repair, blue suit repair, all sorts of stuff in this set. So this is coming out as a bonus set. This uses the AI functionality in Lightroom to adjust different parts of your image based on the kind of subject matter, things like background and the subject and the scene, that kind of thing. And this set is coming out as a bonus set. It'll be free to Quest subscribers later this month. So as well as Quest 27 Serenus, which is available right now, you're also going to get the AI Wedding Tool set later this month. So there's a lot to love about Archipelago Quest. Like I said, we like to do these little bonus tools along the way as we go. And like I said, this month we're going to be doing that alongside the discount that you're going to get on Alethia when that's released as well. All right, so that's enough of me waffling. I can see the winners were announced in the chat there by Lauren. So the winners of the pre-release copies of Alethia presets, we've got Lenka, Lorna, Alexandra, Vermon. You're all going to get pre-release copies. Just reach out to us via the email that you see in the chat there. We will get those across to you. You can start editing with them immediately before they're released for everyone else. So that's very, very exciting. Congratulations to all of you for winning. Make sure you share your images in the Archipelago Collective Facebook group. That's just going to allow you to show off the fact that you've got your hands on those early, and will also allow you to share what to expect for everyone else that didn't get a chance to catch the live stream, to see what's coming with Archipelago Alethia when it comes out in a very, very short amount of time. All right, so that's it from me. Thank you so much to everyone for joining me on the live stream. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. We've got live streams happening every single month. We do at least a couple of those. We also have tutorial content, 60-second edits, all sorts of good stuff. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. And also, if you could, give this video a little bit of a thumbs up just to say that you enjoyed it as well. All right, that's it from me. Thank you so much. I'll see you again in another one soon.